Good thing, like flags are waving around, horses are waving around, he's not worried about it. But on the other hand, we want some connectivity, right? And so Evelyn was working to see how connected they were with the backing up. Not so much, right? He's just kind of sitting there. So what I want you to do, Evelyn, is I want you to get a little bit bigger with your response, okay? And when I say bigger, it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, pressure. It doesn't mean you're gonna have to whack on your horse or count down and start beating on them or anything like that. It just means you're gonna give them more clarity, right? We talked about clarity. So what I'm gonna have you do is let me have you step over here real quick. Okay. And when I come in here with a duller horse, because Evelyn did the, he's coming towards me. Evelyn did the right thing, which is you always start with light pressure and see how the horse responds, right? Always give your horse the benefit of the doubt as if they're going to respond with the least amount of pressure, perfect for you, okay? But he's not responding to that. So what will happen if you start with light pressure and then start with light pressure and start with light pressure is you'll actually, and you're not getting response, you'll actually end up desensitizing him. Make sense? Where he'll start ignoring the pressure because he realizes that by ignoring the pressure, he has to do nothing. If that worked, like how many know if you don't have to do anything, you're not gonna do it, right? Okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna start with a little bit bigger pressure. So if you were to scale your pressure from a 1 to a 10, for Cinco, since I don't know him that well, I can tell he's thinking forward, right? Think about what he's thinking. He's not thinking back yet. Like he just keeps creeping forward. I'm gonna start at like a 5, okay? To see if I can get his attention. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wave my rope, pick up my stick. Good boy. I got a good response there because I started with the adequate amount of pressure, right? Now, if I hadn't seen Evelyn start really light, I would have started light first to see where he is. Does that make sense, guys? You notice how I started waving my hand and rope. He wasn't really responding, so that I picked my stick up, and then finally he started to rock back. I began to escalate the pressure in a way that we get a response, right? That's what connection is about. What kind of response do we get? I like too that so far he hasn't tried to step forward. A lot of dull horses where you ask them to move back, the moment you ask them to move back, they might move back, but then they start creeping forward again. So he understands that clarity. He's like, I don't know about this guy. He's looking at me kind of down his nose, right? So now I'm gonna ask him again. I'm gonna ask him big again. You see, you took a little step. I'm just gonna get big here and just, because that's clarity, right? I can't let him take a step, even if he just rocks forward without telling him, hey, I need you to stay behind. And even though kind of, you see how he's just trying to square himself up? There, I'll let him square himself up if he takes a step back, but not if he takes a step forward to square up. Does that make sense? Okay, just to give him more clarity. Because if I get big and loud, but then I'm not having a clear expectation of him and being consistent with it, it's just murkying the waters, making it confusing for him. Does that make sense so far? Okay, so I'm gonna start at a 5 again, see if I get a response. Chances are I don't need a 5. You notice how a moment ago I was able to get him to move with less pressure, but I wanna just kind of see where my confidence is, okay? How many times can I get him to respond backwards? And then we're gonna dial it down maybe to a 4, right? Then dial it down to a 3. Does that make sense? Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna get really big, so I'm gonna wave, I'm gonna pick up my stick. Good boy. Nice big deep breath. You guys will see me take those big deep breaths a lot. I call it anchoring. It gives my pony a moment to just stop and rest. I'm gonna back him up just a touch, even though it was just a hair that he moved. There, good boy. And so by taking those nice big deep breaths, it really helps him to delineate between each ask, right? Between each exercise. So that I'm letting him just chill, lean into that moment, letting him digest, really helping him to develop understanding of what we just worked on, okay? So that was my second time at a 5. I'm gonna do a 5 again, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead big. Good boy. Very good. And so by taking a deep breath, I'm just inviting him to relax. I don't want you to step forward. Good boy. I'm gonna take another deep breath. Good. And I'm just letting him kind of, again, lean into this moment.
So how come you didn't let up pressure the second he started moving back?
Good question. So Deanie asked, how come I didn't let up pressure the second he started moving backwards? Because that's a really good question, because I'm gonna back him up here. Because I'm starting at a 5 and I wanna give him clarity, he was moving backwards. Good boy. So like, I get that he knows how to move backwards now, okay? If I were just teaching this, he's probably been asked to move backwards, but if I were just teaching this and they had no clue, yeah, absolutely. The second he kind of took a step, I would release the pressure and I would build on that, okay? And that's what I mean when I say like there's no cookie cutter way, right? Like not one way is gonna work for every horse. So to be more efficient, since I knew he was backing up, I had to feel like he kind of knows what I'm doing. I said, I don't just want you to go backward. I want you to go backwards now with a little bit more energy, more intent. I want you to own it. I want you to make it yours. And so when he's moving with that motivation, then I release the pressure as he's moving backwards before he stops, because I got a few more steps, but I released at a point where he had enough momentum that after I released, he still gave me a couple more steps. Does that make sense? Does it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, so I'm gonna ask again in a 5 here. So he's kind of asleep, so I'm gonna be fair to him. I'm gonna kind of wake him up a little bit. There, good boy. Very good. So I like that. Much, much better. So now I'm gonna dial it down to maybe like oh, I love that. Look at that. I love that he kind of rocked back onto his hind end. That tells me he's thinking back, right? So if I were about to ask him to back up and he did that, I would just reward that thought and not ask him to back up. I'd let him just kind of settle in a little bit more. You guys understand what I'm talking about when I say we really have to think about what they are thinking and connect to that, because it just shows the connection that much stronger, that much deeper. It shows that we're that much more invested, that we are worth being a partner to them. Make sense? Okay. So I'm gonna start at like maybe a 3 or 4. I'm gonna start with just wiggling the rope and walking forward. I'm gonna release there. Notice I didn't have to cluck. I didn't have to pick up my stick. He's a lot softer. Is he as soft as I'd like to see him? No. You know, I'm gonna hand him back over to you, Evelyn, and have you do a little bit of work with him. But basically, start at like a 5 or 6, you know, get him to pay attention and wake up. Get him to do it 4 or 5 times consistently, and then start to dial it down, okay? So if you can just get down to like a 3, that's good. You don't have to get down, really important too, you don't have to get down to a 1. You don't have to get it perfect. You just gotta see improvement each time you work with them. Does that make sense?